we have a blockbuster trade to talk about
Oh
from
boy.
one of our follower leagues. Shout out to the Lima League. And we got a big trade here from Reb42 and Nate Alejo.
Massive.
It's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And it involves what I think should be considered the RB1. We had a conversation about this on the other video in
Yeah.
Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you stand on it, RB1, RB2, however you want to decide, we're talking Breece Hall. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this trade without the context of the team, and then afterwards we're going to include the context of the team, and we're going to see if this trade changes our mind with context or without. So, shout out to the Lima League. Let's look at this trade. Reb gets Zach Milfson, and
Wilson.
Breece Hall. Nate Alejo gets a two 23 first and a 24 first. So essentially
Yeah.
3 first round picks for Zach and Breece Hall. Very interesting. I'm imagining that Reb is probably a win now team. I don't want to assume that, but I imagine he probably is going all in with Breece Hall there.
Right.
And then Zach Wilson kind of being like a project on his bench. And I'm imagining that Nate is very, very much into a rebuild. Where do you kind of lean on this trade? Because I have a very specific thought, but I'm curious where you lean.
No. Yeah. I think for me, I think this is even.
Yeah, yeah.
In my opinion, very, very even. Breece Hall right now is the way he's playing is worth 2 firsts.
Yeah.
It feels like Zach Wilson probably still in question. We've seen a little bit of strides week in and week out, but is he the answer long term? I'm not sure. I think hopefully in 2023 we can get a full season out of him. They are 4-2. Can't doubt
Yeah, they're
that.
winning games.
They're winning games, and 2 of those games, Zach Wilson played Green Bay, beat Aaron Rodgers. I mean, was a lot of help.
Yeah.
It was a team win.
I think he only had 10 completed passes.
Yeah, it wasn't
but
Zach
he did.
Wilson, but it was a team win. It looks like this offense, by the way, feels like it's going more run heavy. They found something on the
Yeah.
stride on the ground, which kind of sucks for Gary Wilson and Elijah Moore. But it is a fairly even trade in my opinion. I think this is probably one of the most even trade we've probably seen in our league so far, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
2 23 thirds or 2 23 firsts and a 24 first. And hopefully, let's see what happens. Because if both of these somehow fall into the top 8 at least, he can get a quarterback and a running back. And you have options. CJ, Will, Hendon Hooker should be in question now. I mean, in that conversation, Bryce Young is in that question.
Talk it up.
That's 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Running backs. That's the 104 the 101 to the 104. Then the running backs.
Sure.
Bijan, Jameer, Sean Tucker. For you would be Zach Evans. Let's just say 4. So that's 8 picks. If you get 2 first round picks in the top 8, you're kind of set. You're kind of set. It feels like.
Right. I think the interesting part about this is going to be the context, because I don't know where those 23 firsts are going to end up being. If those 23 firsts are late, I think I am going to lean the Breece Hall side.
Agreed. I would agree.
Breece Hall, someone, I know a lot of people after the draft, on our Dynasty channel were asking us, man, this landing spot's awful. Are you not out like Michael Carter's there? I've always been all in on Breece Hall, and it's really awesome to see him, like the talent. Again, always bet on talent in Dynasty, and it's showing out. That's a secure thing now. I feel like we can both 100% agree, like, this is a secure top 5 running back for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, right?
Right.
And he's only 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the running backs that you're going to be drafting this year in 2023 will be just as old as him or older. Like some of them will be older than Breece Hall, and you're going to be drafting them, thinking that you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Not to say that they won't be worth more or less than Breece, but you're right. The big unknown here is Zach Wilson, because if Zach Wilson doesn't pan out, well, you just gave 3 first round picks for a running back. That's where it gets really, really tough. So I agree with you. It is pretty even value. I think we can agree there. It is even value. I don't know where to stand here without the context. I think this is why context is super important for dynasty trades.
Yeah.
Is to find out where those first round picks are projected to be. Because the difference between a top 3 pick or a top 6 pick in 2023 and a bottom 3, I feel like it's a vast difference this year. But Aki, I don't know if you feel the same way on that.
No, yeah, it is a vast difference. And we said, the wide receiver class is not as big. And you're talking about the 23 class like specifically, correct?
Yeah, specifically like
Okay.
after those top 6 picks, they're still very good players, but I think
The
like the
talent
cream of the
drops.
crop is really in that
Yeah,
top 6 to 7.
exactly. And it's a very heavy quarterback, running back class where
Yeah,
I think they will go earlier than expected, unless Jordan Addison or Kayvon Thibodeau, whoever else is going
Kayvon
to go.
Thibodeau,
Kayvon Thibodeau. Kayvon Thibodeau. Um,
Kayshon Boutte.
Booty, and Jackson Smith. I mean, go
Yeah,
to a very favorable landing spot. I think it's going to be tough to see the talent after 109, 10 potentially, but that's still really early at the moment.
yeah. All right, well let's look at these teams. I don't have an answer. Do you?
Okay, at the moment I feel like Nate is really favorable right here. Still with
Okay.
the first, I think the first are massive, but I think it's not that I'm off Zach Wilson. I think I would bank on CJ and Bryce to be a more successful quarterback than
Yeah.
Zach Wilson.
Hard
Even if
thing is
it's
we're
yeah.
not sure if you're getting them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's my hope and expectation when I look at a trade like this. Like, you have to get a quarterback in this one. It has to be CJ or Bryce, or maybe he has other firsts that we don't know, which we're going to look
Yeah.
at the context now. So
Let's look at the context of both teams. I'm assuming that Reb is probably win now. Otherwise, giving up this kind of draft capital will be interesting. All right, so let's look at it. Reb on the left here, he's got Tom Brady.
2-4, by the way.
He's 2-4. Yeah, that is concerning to see off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady, Eno Benjamin. That's also concerning to see. Breece Hall, Hunter Renfrow, Garrett Wilson, Gerald Everett, Hunter Henry in our flex, Edmonds Mariota. Okay, this is going to be interesting. I wonder if we just have a abundance of draft picks that we were able to kind of play around with.
Just going to look at it on
Our
my
bench, we've got Wilson, Burkhead. I mean, anyone of note, really. Warren's interesting. Is there anyone on his taxi? Can you see if there's anyone on his taxi?
That's
maybe?
where I'm going right now to see if I can. Maybe he's holding some gems on there.
Yeah.
So this is.
And also, I'm curious what the rest of his draft capital looks like, because this is going to be a high draft pick because Reb gave Nate his draft pick. This is going to be a high draft pick here.
So on injury reserve right now, he has Cordell Patterson and Kenny Pickett. Obviously, they're both out right now.
Okay, Kenny Pickett. Okay.
In his tax, he has Jameson Williams and then Christian Watson.
Okay, all right.
So he has some young, youthful players. It looks like he's also kind of rebuilding as well. It looks like he's rebuilding with the younger pieces in Breece. So I think in the path, the way he's looking like, it looks good. And he just gave away 2 firsts.
See, I'm not so
3
sure
firsts,
because to me, I love that you said Jameson Williams and Christian Watson were on his taxi.
Correct.
I love that. That's a 200 IQ play, because if you're not planning on winning right now, those guys, whenever they come back, will not contribute to you winning, even if they break out.
Mm-hmm.
My issue here is that, yes, you got Breece Hall, but you're not going to, this team, let's be honest, this team isn't going to make the playoffs.
I don't think so.
And you're probably going to have a top 5 pick.
And you
just gave away.
You gave away your pick.
This is going to be hard for me.
Okay.
Whereas Nate's 1-5.
Nate's 1-5, clearly rebuilding.
He's he is 100%, balls deep into a rebuild here. No quarterback, running back. Let's see who's on the bench. Isaiah Pacheco, Campbell, Bateman, Conklin. He's got ETN, Elijah Moore, Flacco. I mean, anyone of note on the bench really? No, not really. I mean, this team is quite bare. I think Nate would agree.
This might be interesting for you. Injury reserve: Javonte Williams, Trey Lance.
Nate, I want to extend a hand and say we're in the same boat, my guy.
Yeah.
I got Trey Lance and Javonte in a lot of leagues, and it's nothing but pain right now in those leagues.
So I mean, he had the young team. He had Breece and Javonte. He had it with Zach Wilson. He had Trey Lance. He had the young team, and he had
Etienne. Elijah was supposed to break out. Bateman has been good but injured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it just hasn't been there for him, and
I think we'll still look at the draft compensation here in a second. But to me, with the context, I feel like this trade for Nate makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm. I think so as well.
at this very point. Again, like if you look at it straight value, I'm not saying Reb didn't get equal value. I'm just saying like for both of these teams and where they're going to end up, unless Reb makes a miraculous streak here to the playoffs, he'll probably beat Nate this week, or in week 9 when they face off. So that's at least one win.
Yeah.
But let's look at draft capital here.
I think this
So
is
we can
very
see
interesting.
Nate here and Reb here on the left. So let's see what Reb has. He has 223 first still.
So he had
223 seconds.
23
and
first, by the way.
he had 423 first. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Okay, and he still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 24 first as well. So Reb has a lot of draft capital still. Which is good to see. Nate over here, he has Reb's first. So really, Nate didn't have a ton of draft capital. He was kind of going the young hybrid win now approach, I imagine.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Some of those players just didn't work out. So with this trade, he knew he was already going to be really bad this year based off of the injuries that happened.
So with the draft capital, it looks very good. And I'm assuming when you look at Reb's first round picks, he has Jenner, who is 5-1 right now. So I'm assuming when they were negotiating, they were like, I don't want Jen's first round pick. He goes, he has Jets Poppy's pick as well, who's also 5-1.
Okay,
so he has 2 late first round picks at the moment. It feels like
this is tough
going into 2023 for Reb specifically. Yeah, and he has. Yeah,
and then Nate got his own 24 first back in this deal as well. I don't know if you noticed that. He got his own 2024 first back.
So, and he has Rebs, who doesn't look.
This is tough, man, because I feel like Reb really had Nate kind of by the balls with having his own 24 first.
Yeah, and then
sending his 23 first as well.
And he has Killer K, another 23 first, who's right now middle of the pack. Well, actually, he's not middle of the pack. He's top 4. He's 4-2 right now. Yeah. But I mean, people in the middle there can either go either way. They can be finished 4th or 6th, which can really change things, So,
I mean, if you look at the landscape of this league, though, do we anticipate Reb really competing? Maybe in his eyes, he's like, I'm not trying to compete. I just wanted to get secure assets.
Yeah, exactly.
This is tough, man. But I will say, with how much I love this top 6 of this class, and I think Reb's going to have a top 6 pick, I think I lean Nate now with the context.
Yeah.
Just knowing, because again, I feel like Reb, like I'm not going to say that he's in a worse position, but I think it made more sense for his team before this trade.
Right.
2-4, you have your own first round pick, which, is going to be pretty high. You had Nate's first round pick, who, his team was struggling after not really performing in injuries, which looked pretty good for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, does Breece now help you win a couple games and put you in a worse position? Well, you don't really care because you don't have your first round pick.
Yeah, you don't have it.
It's an interesting spot to be in. And then you got Brady on the team, which is confusing. You got Patterson.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
The wide receiver room is nowhere near ready to compete.
Well, for Reb, remember, he has Jameson and...
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, this year, you look at this wide receiver room, Renfro, Wilson, Gage. Like, it's nowhere near ready to compete.
Yeah, I hear you. So, I think it's clear for me it's Nate. I think it's the first round picks. It's massive. So, it feels like he has at least one top 6 first round picks in that second first rounder. Yeah. Could be between, I don't know, 3 to 8 potentially, depending on how things fall. I kind of feel like
Nate was in a really tough spot, and I think this kind of gave him life a little bit. Again, looking at the trade, I don't think Reb got screwed over by value. I just think with the context, this gave Nate kind of a shot of life for the future.
Yeah.
Or with his team in his current position.
And I think, Reb and Nate were going, like I said earlier, they were going back and forth.
Probably, like, I imagine.
I want this pick, I want that pick. And then he was like, well, do you want Breece or not? Do you want to get the top 1 or top 5 running back going into 2023? You make
probably
the
RB1.
decision. Yeah. So, and maybe that's what Red's thinking. Maybe he is thinking that it is RB1 or RB2, and he would rather have Breece Hall long term than having to bank on one of these guys.
Reb and Nate, of course, there are always times where we might miss out on certain contexts or conversations or, whatever. So include that in the comments, in case we are missing out.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sitting here saying that Reb got screwed over at all, because I think it is even value. And if you're going to go trade for Breece, this is probably what it's going to cost. You almost feel a little bit better if there wasn't Zach Wilson there and it was 2 firsts,
right.
for Reb's side instead of like taking on the Zach Wilson project. But at the same time, like Wilson, like he's not looked incredible, but I've seen strides in this game. So if Zach Wilson can end up being a top 12 dynasty wide receiver or running back or quarterback, excuse me,
right.
Reb won't have anything to worry about.
The thing is, even if if Zach Wilson doesn't hit, Reb has an opportunity to get a Will Levis that might fall in the first round. A Hendon Hooker that might fall in the first round. Anthony Richardson that might go late in the first round. In rookie mock drafts or in rookie drafts, excuse me, not in the actual NFL draft. So he's probably thinking that as well. Like, okay, I got Breece. If I can't get Bryce and CJ, cool. Let me try and get like a project quarterback. I already have one, but maybe Anthony Richardson can be this better guy later on down the road. I can have him on my bench,
right,
or my taxi. Same thing with whoever the case may be. So, or KJ Jefferson, a guy that you like. So,
yeah, love KJ Jefferson. Well, Hendon Hooker, I feel like I've been the biggest advocate for him in the Dynasty community. Mm-hmm. Everyone, when I brought him up, been like, he's so old. I'm like, okay, it's a quarterback. Like, have you seen the progression though?
But he's old.
Yeah, but he's old. Okay, all right, I get it. This is an interesting one. Again, I think it's even value with context. I prefer to be in Nate's position. Where do you stand?
I prefer to be in Nate's position as well.
Okay. Let us know, guys. Let us know in the comments below where you stand on this one. Reb, Nate, any context we might have left out.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, comment, like. And we'll see you guys next week. I love being part of these leagues. Always seeing people making big trades. Myself making big trades. It's really fun to be a part of. So shout out to everyone over on Patreon as well.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.